Hey YouTube, welcome back to my channel. So I wanted to talk today about, the title of this video is, did my history or my medical history, my drug history contribute to this happening to me? And I've noticed a theme when I talk to people of, it's like they have this history of either taking different types of pharmaceuticals, and then all of a sudden it's like their nervous system explodes after just a couple of doses of an SSRI or a benzo or an antipsychotic. But in a lot of the cases that I've talked to where people are having those extreme reactions, they have a history of other things. So I just want to give my history because I don't know if this primed me for what happened or not, and then the psych drugs were just the catalyst, but I'm curious to know if other people have this type of experience as well. So I have been a type 1 diabetic for 25 years. I got it when I was 16. Type 1 diabetes is a autoimmune disorder. I also have celiac disease, which is autoimmune. I don't want to say specific words on here because I don't want to trigger people or trigger the algorithm. So I just want to say that I got type 1 diabetes shortly after one of my childhood injections. I'll just say that. So yeah, there's that. And then when I was 26, so in 2000 no, let me go back a little bit further. I had issues from high school on where I had an extreme sweating problem, like extreme. Like I could never ever wear sandals because my feet were so wet that they would slide around and I would sprain my ankle legitimately. I didn't ever want to shake people's hands. My hands, like when it gets really bad or got really bad, you could see droplets of sweat like all along my fingers and my palm. Like my hand would be visibly wet. And I would wear, if I wore, tight, because I used to be a lot thinner, I used to wear tight shirts, and sometimes the sweat would go down halfway down my waist. And it was really bad, really. And I was so desperate when I was 25. So this was in 2007. I was so desperate for it to be done. Like I'd never been able to enjoy like cute shoes and cute outfits because I had this extreme sweating problem. And I had been given different medications, and I had tried like all the industrial strength, the prescription strengths, like antiperspirants and the stuff you leave on overnight and everything, and nothing ever helped. So I was doing research and I discovered Botox. So I was like, oh, they say Botox can really, really help. It like stuns the sweat glands, or I don't know what it does exactly, but I was like, this is it. This is the answer for me. I had doctors who validated that I had an extreme, like a medical problem. This wasn't a cosmetic reason to get Botox. And I got like $2,000 of Botox covered under insurance. So in 2007, I start getting Botox. Like they would have like a tray of like a pile of needles. Like I would get so much Botox because my situation was so bad. Like I remember the injecting doctor saying that like my case was pretty extreme. So I would get it in my armpits, my feet, and my hands, like rounds and rounds of needles of Botox. So I started getting that in 2007, and I got it every year until 2015. It worked like a charm, but like, your hands kind of go limp and you don't really have strength to turn knobs and stuff for the first week or two. So I was getting all this Botox, which is poison. Well, some form of poison anyway, but it worked. And so I took all these like rounds and rounds and rounds of Botox. And then in 2008, when I was 26, I started getting chronic sinus infections. So I was always taking antibiotics, like every other month or every third month, I was taking antibiotics. Took them all the time, all through 2008, all through 2009. I ended up seeing an ENT doctor, and he said, you need to have surgery on your sinuses. So I get surgery in 2010. I had developed such a severe infection prior to that I ended up on a 6-week course of amoxicillin, which is a pretty strong antibiotic. So then had this history of all this antibiotics. I get sinus surgery and I'm given OxyContin. I don't know, like, and I also was given steroids. So I took, steroids? prednisone. So I was given prednisone, which is a pretty strong drug, and people can have pretty severe reactions to that. I know of people who have. I ended up in the hospital because it gave me severely high blood sugar. I don't know why they were giving a diabetic prednisone. It's known to cause high blood sugar. So I'm taking prednisone, and after the surgery, I'm taking OxyContin, like lots of OxyContin. And so, I'm taking these opioids and had taken antibiotics for like 2 years. Then I started on antidepressants in 2011, and I'm fine on them. Like, I didn't have a reaction. I felt like they worked really well for the first while. I felt great on them. And so I'm taking antidepressants for all these years, and the sinus surgery did help my sinuses, and I was getting reprieve and wasn't needing to take really antibiotics very often, just the odd time, like kind of what a normal person would take them for, but it wasn't like the chronic antibiotic after antibiotic that I had been doing before the surgery. So I take antidepressants from 2011 to 2018. So this is a lot of medication use. Like I had my wisdom teeth. I forgot to mention I had my wisdom teeth removed in 2006. I took all kinds of opioids for that. I took Percocet, I took morphine, I think there was one other one. So, and then all this Botox. So I'm wondering if my body is, and then on citalopram, which I took for 7 years, I developed a drinking problem. So I'm drinking excessively. So all of these like known toxins, things that destroy the gut microbiome. I had undiagnosed celiac for about 10 years until they finally figured it out. So I have a wrecked gut. I'm destroying my liver with all of these medications, alcohol. Had been getting systemic Botox for years. And so then I come off the antidepressants in 2018 and I have a bad withdrawal reaction. But then I feel like I recovered after 6 months, but then I reinstated because I had seen a psychiatrist in the meantime because I was in crisis for the first 5 months, called mental health crisis, got referred to a psychiatrist, got better in the meantime, but went and saw the psychiatrist anyway. She based my symptoms off how I had been feeling during those 6 months of withdrawal. Puts me back on drugs. I have an adverse reaction. And so I come off after a week, and then I suffer for another 2 years, reinstate again at tiny doses. So it's like my body's getting more and more and more toxic. I start taking antibiotics antidepressants in 2011, and I'm completely fine at a full 20 milligram dose. I reinstate after being off for 7 months. When I came off the drugs, had an adverse reaction at 20 milligrams because I just started back on that. Cut it down to 10 milligrams. I was a little bit better, but still not well. So I come off. Then I reinstate again at 0.5 milligram, and it's like my nervous system explodes. And it seems like people who are having adverse reactions have some type of history. Like they'll have an adverse reaction to, or they'll get akathisia from like Reglan, for instance, which is an anti-nauseant. It's often given to pregnant women when they have morning sickness. People having extreme reactions to compazine. I think that is also for nausea. Don't quote me on that though. But I think it's actually some type of hidden antipsychotic. Anyway, or people will have a reaction to hormone treatment, IVF drugs, but they have a history of taking other medications, other drugs. My personal belief, I'm starting to believe after all of these years in this state, it has something to do with detox pathways in the liver. Because there's people that I'm talking to who are getting these gene site tests after the fact and realizing they can't metabolize the drugs that they're having these akathisic reactions to, and probably could never process it all along. And so it has to do with the body's ability to metabolize these drugs. It has to do with the liver, I believe. I don't know why it happens then in a withdrawal state. Something just tips it over the edge, or I don't know. And then people start having reactions to food and supplements and medications and sunlight and everything. And it's got to be a toxic load thing. I personally believe that that's part of it. I'm not saying that it's one size fits all and that the body is that simple. It's not, clearly. But I believe that that's a factor. And it seems like the people, again, who have the strong adverse reactions have histories of drugs, alcohol, prescription medications, dabbling with psych drugs, dabbling with, hormonal stuff, even birth control. It just seems like something is priming the body, and then these psych drugs are just a catalyst and a bomb just explodes. Let me know if that's not the situation for you. If you're just in a straight withdrawal case, maybe that wasn't the situation for you, but particularly people who have adverse reactions, it just seems like something is priming them along the way, and your body gets to this tipping point, and then it just takes one pill and you're just a complete disaster. And yeah, I'm curious to know what your history is, or if you have a history with, the medical system, different types of medications, antibiotics, botox, birth control pills, hormone replacement, IVF drugs, anti-nauseants when you were pregnant, any of that type of stuff. I'm just curious, because I seem to be noticing a pattern the more that I talk to people. So let me know in the comments if you have a situation or circumstance like that. I'm just building kind of my own anecdotal evidence, and I am kind of fascinated by this, even though maybe fascinated isn't the right word, because it causes so much pain for so many people, but just a desire to learn more, and I guess try to help the community and understand and spread information and awareness. So all your feedback is helpful. Thank you so much, and I'll see you in the next one.